episodes of Stadia Podcast right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there on your digital podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, your host for this week's episode, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
You know what, Chris? Me and you are probably sat down right now having a beer at Tom's wedding.
Got to get that in there straight. I mentioned before, remind me to bring it up, and you know what better chance to remind me. Yes, this episode goes live on our lovely fellow co-host, the techie teacher himself, is getting married today, folks. So first and foremost, before you subscribe, before you click that bell, head over to Twitter at AdaxisLP and shows Tom some love. It's the big day. It's an important part of his life. We miss him also dearly, but also will probably be very, very drunk right now, celebrating, dancing, and everything in between that goes on at a wedding. We can't wait. We look forward to it.
We're still very drunk. This show comes out at 8 o'clock in the morning and don't intend to be very drunk.
Hey, you know, I start my days certain ways when it's an important date. It's an important date. But big things ahead. We can't wait. Let's celebrate all of the gaming, video game news alongside Tom and Holly's celebration. Shout out to you guys. We've got a great show lined up for you all. We've got big news on the Tomb Raider front, the Max Payne front, and Need for Speed front. That's right, 3 massive games are on their way back. Will they be coming to Stadia? That's a different conversation we're going to break down alongside all of the gaming news, updates from the Stadia blog regarding free trials, some showcases coming this summer, some blog updates from games that are also on the horizon, a little bit of controversy, of course, as always. We'll be breaking all that down in this week's show, episode 133. As I mentioned, like, subscribe, share, do all that magical stuff that you wonderful people out there do. The hundreds and hundreds of you, sometimes thousands, who watch and tune in every week, however you consume our Helix content. And a special shout out as well to our Helix heroes. We've got over 50 of you who subscribe, support the channel that extra little bit further, and we need to take a pause this week to celebrate you guys, because 3 of you have passed the magic 1 year mark. That's right, Helix heroes not only get early access to SideQuest, you get stickers, you get badges, you get loads of little perks in between, and we love you all the more for your continued support. So shout out to Sarge, Simon, also known as the Fabled Alpaca, and Steve Nelson for your patronage. That's 12 months. That is a lovely little box of Stadios you have next to your name in the chat right now. We are also aware that there is 14 of you on 11 months. So give it a week or two and we'll probably be celebrating a bunch more of you being an honorary year-old Helix hero. Round of applause for you. It's always supported, appreciated. And we love you all the same. And if you do want to join the squad, 99p below, early content, why wouldn't you? And it shows me, Richie and Tom a little bit more love as we look to extend and grow the channel, because as I've mentioned a few times, Richie, we've got big plans. We've got some plans later on the year, which we'll keep it under lock and key, as they say, for now. But we'll get into all that as time goes by. Richie, kicking things off, we played World War Z this past Thursday. We were back with a live stream.
We keep promising live streams. The last few weeks we've had to cancel, but we were back, and the game actually came out. There was some people that I saw on like social media going, "Oh, we got promised this pro game, it didn't come out. It came out when we expected it to."
Yeah,
if you actually read the blog post properly, and it was great.
It was.
It ran smoothly, apart from Deshaun.
Yeah, Deshaun, our NPC counterpart who joined us, with not by our choice, but we had some really good laughs with the game. By no means is it AAA polished perfection, but you know what? It's hordes of zombies. It's fun with friends. We will get into it as one of the topics of the show, but we'll definitely be back for more. So if you're a World War Z fan, if you're playing online and you're struggling to find players, check out the channel on Thursdays or sometimes Fridays, or maybe even another random day. We kind of squeeze them in where we see fit. We might actually have one later this week because I'm off this week. So once I've recovered from the wedding, I might jump on and do some kind of stream as well in my downtime. But yes, World War Z Aftermath. Check it out on the channel. It's our first look, and also we work fully through episode 1, so there's plenty of content in there. And of course, my internet cut out just before the end as well, frustratingly. So it is split up into 2 videos, but just go check out the first one. We appreciate that. In the meantime, though, Richie, before we get into it, just quickly touching in what you've been playing.
Horizon still. I have made progress. It feels like I've been playing for a long time, but not actually getting that much done in the game. But last night I did stay up quite late and made quite a bit of progress.
How late?
Which is actually why I'm about half free. I didn't realize the time. You know when you just like into it. Like we were talking about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I stayed up till 2:30, so I don't know what I'm chuckling about.
Yeah. And then I just got back into another story mission. And I looked at the clock and went, "Oh, I should go to bed." Like
probably, yeah. So
which is why I'm on this right now.
Yo-ho, the gamer's life for me. Yes, I'm on the cusp of the platinum. I've got 1 trophy to go, and then I'll be pivoting over to the Lego Skywalker Saga. Can't wait. I'm going to have my brother around for some beers this week, and we're going to get into some classic multiplayer Lego action. Over on Stadia, I've been chipping away at FIFA a little bit more. Again, I think same as you, Richie, just jumping in every now and again, getting a game or two. And of course, World War Z Aftermath. I'm kind of itching to get back and play more of that because I had an absolute blast with it. It's just juggling other things, and I think once Horizon's out of the way, that's the big one. Although I am hearing Lego Star Wars is like another 70 hours to get the platinum, so it's like okay, but
well, it's 9 games effectively.
Yeah, very true. And obviously decades worth of movies, but there's not much on the horizon for this summer. I've listened to a few gaming podcasts this week, and the months are looking quite barren actually going ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that have just come out over the last like 2-3 months. And then it's going to be, I think that we're in a bit of a lull going into the summer when we're going to start getting things like Summer Games Fest, where we're probably going to hear more about what's happening in the back end of the year. But I think Lego Star Wars is one of them where I think you could probably just go, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through episode 1, move to another game, then you go back to episode 2. I think you can probably break it up like that.
So, key question then, before we move into the news. Would you start at episode 1?
I have no idea.
Because
do you even have a choice?
Yeah. So it's broken up into the 3 trilogies, the 3 hub, and everything's got its hub world. But the developers explicitly said before, you can start at A New Hope and work your way through them, then go back. Because obviously they're all contained stories, like movies as such. So, but are you going to be a purist and go New Hope onwards, or are you going to go chronologically?
I'm probably going to get a lot of shit in the chat for saying this. I think for anyone watching new to Star Wars, you start at episode 4. You do 4 to 6, 1 to 3, 7 to 9. That's the order of release.
Yep.
But if you're a veteran of Star Wars, I think starting at episode 1 makes a bit more sense. Okay. Because they start in chronological order. Okay. Because you already know the story, you already know the characters.
Yeah, you're not gonna suddenly go, oh my god, pod racing, what? What's this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So, but I think if you're new to Star Wars, I'd say start at 4. If you're a veteran, I'd say start at 1.
You don't want to start at 7?
In fact, no. Be crazy. Start at 9, work your way back.
Yeah, that's how we all consume content.
If you're going to do crazy orders.
Crazy, absolutely. Do let us know in the comments below what sequence you think I should start the game in, what sequence you think is the true way to even watch the movies as well, because kind of that's a bit controversial now. I love the prequels for what they are, but yes. Let us know in the comments below. It's not a trap, don't worry. Hopefully we'll get some Lego games eventually on Stadia. I know we've been shouting about there'll be the perfect... I know we love outright games, but there's something different that hits different with the Lego games. So we'll see. We do actually have a story relating to Lego in the news later on, just as an industry scope story. So we'll get into that, Richie. But let's wrap it there. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, follow, share. Do all the amazing things you guys do to help other people find our Stadia content. There's some wonderful creators out there in the world, and if you want to share their kind of passion for cloud gaming like we do, always try and do a retweet for not just us, just everyone out there, the amazing people, Sunny, the guys over at Stadia Source, Rock, who else have we got, Richie? Throw some names in there. It's been a while. Clive Illenden does his Monday Stadia chat still. I've stole all the good ones from you.
You have. It's not even just the guys who do video content. You've got a lot of guys who do things like In Lead with his pro game on, like Original Penguin who does this, like Adam who does all the sort of pixel stuff. All the guys of Stadia Source and Cloudy. Like, it's not just the video content stuff. It's there's content creators in ways, different forms, and all very, very useful.
Indeed, there is. Yeah, there is. Obviously, John Scarswell, Ninja X, Stadium Kick North. I was listening to a little bit of that night with the developer interviews. So many amazing people out there doing amazing stuff on their own back, we should say as well. A lot of this is just a hobby or a fan kind of ran thing, of a passion project as such. So go show them some love. It's always good to do. Of course, on a day of wedding bells and celebrations, Richie, go show the people who you watch, you consume, some extra love, and show them some support. Buy them a coffee if you can. I don't like coffee. Anyway, moving on, Richie. Take a swig of your Monster Energy drink and introduce us to the Pause, because he's chucking
The
satchel
super
twig.
sexy special Stadia story. The super sexy special Stadia story segment.
Glug, glug, glug. The news.
The news. You said take a drink, so I went for it. I was like, oh no, I thought you were going to give me a pause there.
No, it's all for the shits and giggles. We have a great show full chock of news. I actually can't wait to get into this week. Just stacking the deck, not the deck, for the start of the show. As the week was trickling over, I was thinking there's not much news coming through. The community blog was quite weak this week. Lol. But thankfully, the industry at large doesn't stop. Story number 1 for this week's show: Tomb Raider is coming back, Richie. The amazing team over at Crystal Dynamics have announced that they are making a new Tomb Raider game, another entry in the franchise, making using the Unreal Engine 5, which has just gone into kind of like open play. Developers Crystal Dynamics have confirmed what we can and you already. It's been the 25th anniversary for Tomb Raider all year long. They've announced the new engine translates to next level storytelling and gameplay experience, and that's why we're thrilled to announce today that we've just started development on our next Tomb Raider powered by Unreal Engine 5. Our goal is to push the envelope of fidelity and to deliver the high quality cinematic adventure experience that fans deserve from both Crystal Dynamics and the Tomb Raider franchise. We can't wait to play this journey together. Of course, Crystal Dynamics previously made the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot. They also did the amazing Rise of Tomb Raider, which was the follow-up, before handing it over to Eidos Montreal to do the kind of the wrap-up of the trilogy, which is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Arguably the weakest of the three. It's kind of... I always feel like with the third one, Shadow, it's almost got like a Batman Origins kind of vibe, where it was handed off to a different studio that didn't really build on the success of the second one. It almost bookended the trilogy in like a weird way. So I'm hoping this means Tomb Raider's back with a bang. What do you think?
I haven't actually played Shadow yet. It is on my list of games I want to play. I'm really glad for this news, to be honest. First of all, Unreal 5 looks amazing. So this is probably going to be by far the prettiest Tomb Raider we've ever seen.
Oh yes.
I'm also glad for Crystal Dynamics, because I know you like the Avengers game, but I felt that I just didn't ever feel that was the right fit for Crystal Dynamics, because the Tomb Raider games are these awesome linear narrative-driven games, and then to try and what you're going to do is a persistent online multiplayer experience, and I just don't think they landed it. And the best things about the Avengers game was the single player stuff. It's where they're strong. So it's just going back to Tomb Raider is just them playing their strengths, and it's like, yes, please, this is going to be. I fully expect this to be an amazing game.
Yeah, I completely agree. The whole reboot trilogy is like my perfect type of game. As one of my favorite franchises is the Uncharted franchise, and it kind of was Tomb Raider begat Uncharted begat the Tomb Raider reboot, and it kind of went full circle with it all, taking liberties from each other. But yeah, we played one of the first, if not the first full live stream we did as a channel. Back when it was just Sounds of Stadia, was the 2013 reboot. It was one of the first games to launch on Stadia. And even by standards then, the game was probably, 5, 6, 7 year old. And we said how gorgeous it looked running back then, like 3 years ago now. And yeah, Unreal 5, I can't wait to see what they do with it. And you're kind of right with Avengers, unfortunately. I'm a massive fan of Avengers. I do think it's got more legs. I think the Spider-Man stuff kind of shook them a little bit. I think they haven't announced a roadmap for this year. You don't know what Disney's plans are with it, because it is it's their massive franchise. Do they let it go? Do they double down on it? Does it go free to play? There's a lot of stuff up in the air with Avengers.
With this news of Tomb Raider, I think it's game over for it's the end game of Avengers. I think it's I just don't think my issue with it is the multiplayer. I just don't think was well thought through. It just seemed very, very basic. Like, it was all very rinse and repeat. Just listen, or you do missions to get better gear, but you got better gear, so you could just do similar missions on a harder difficulty. I just didn't find there was no real hook for me there. It's like, I've enjoyed it when new story content's dropped out. We'll play for a couple of hours, but then I played through that story. There was nothing in that game that made me want to keep coming back.
Yeah, well, we know even from, I think it was an investors call the middle of last year, where Square Enix themselves actually Square Enix publishers came out and said, we probably need to give the correct studios the correct projects, and I think that was them admitting that Crystal Dynamics were not the right team to do a multiplayer game, because credit where credit's due, the Avengers campaign with Kamala Khan, really fantastic. The Black Panther DLC, fantastic. But you're totally right. Yeah, the end game.
I've always said, if you can pick up Avengers quite cheap, if it gets like £15, it's worth paying for that campaign.
Yeah,
and then playing through some of the online story content. But yeah, there's just like when I always think of like MMOs like World of Warcraft and Destiny, you're going out, you're getting better gear. Why are you getting better gear? So you can do new content that is interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
But you just didn't. I don't think you had that in Avengers.
Yeah,
it was just all rinse and repeat, usually with just like a different skin over the world.
Indeed.
It's a shame. That game had potential, but
it did. And Crystal Dynamics as well, we should say, they're currently working with Microsoft and the Initiative on the Perfect Dark remake. So which we spoke about on the podcast many episodes back now. Bit of an odd choice. And it's interesting because I know I said Shadow of the Tomb Raider is probably the least best received, but they're still all up there as like a standard quality, like beautiful, gorgeous games, fun gameplay, good solid story. And then we know Eidos Montreal then went from Shadow of the Tomb Raider to make Guardians of the Galaxy, which was one of I think it might have even been my game of the year last year, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Grid contained story. And Guardians of the Galaxy could have easily been implemented in an Avengers-style team mechanics, multiplayer online, and they didn't go that way. And I was thrilled to see they didn't go that way. So there's some quality story writers over at Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix as a whole. This past week, actually, they just announced that one of the Days Gone directors, PlayStation exclusive Days Gone, one of the leads, he's just moved over to start working for Crystal as well. So there's extra creative juices coming at the studio, and I cannot wait to see what they put into practice. I do need to ask though, Richie, obviously you've played 2, haven't you? You've played Tomb Raider Reboot, yes. Rise, not Rise, Shadow, Rise, not Shadow, sorry. Yeah. If they numbered them, this would be a lot easier. I do need to ask then, do you think this will be another reboot or a follow-on from the last trilogy?
There have been talks about them trying to like bridge the gap between the reboot trilogy and the original games. Mm-hmm. So I think this might be the one that does it. So I think this will be a continuation of the Lara we know from the reboot trilogy, where I think she'll start off where the Lara we know from Shadow, but probably end up closer to the Lara we know from the original Tomb Raider. I think this might be the game that bridges that gap. That
could be an interesting approach. They kind of mold the two together. Yeah,
because in the original games, like Lara's already this experienced character. Like this experienced Tomb Raider, this adventurer sort of archaeologist, historian sort of character. In the reboot trilogy, this is kind of like, especially in the first game, like Lara's just a person really at the start of the game. She becomes the closer to the Lara Croft, you know. It's like in our stream, there's a playlist in our channels if you want to go watch it.
Definitely recommend.
We had that Tomb Raider bitch moment where she gets the dual pistol at the end. Sorry for the spoilers. Like, so that's what the first game is about. It's like that. So I think this might be like by the end of this game, this is now the Lara, you know.
Yeah, we know.
I can see actually this game ending with her in like the full-on iconic outfit from the first games, like the blue tank top, the short shorts, the dual pistols,
the Lucasade advert.
I think that's where we end up. Yeah.
Running from the dogs in that terrible like PS1 graphics.
She might even put down the boat at the end of this game.
She might.
Because the reboots are all about the bow's an iconic weapon for her in the reboots, but it's the dual pistols in the older games. Yeah. So
there's an absolute wealth of stuff they could delve into. I know the reboots have kind of dabbled in the mysterious and the ethereal, like sci-fi mythical kind of realm. And let's remember, some of the older Tomb Raider games have like dinosaurs in them. So
the first game famously has the T-Rex.
Yeah, exactly. So there's stuff they can lean into. I do really hope they do keep this incarnation of Lara, because I think Camilla Luddington, who does the voice work, absolutely phenomenal, terrific. And I think
she's more of a character now rather than just a thing that you're playing as.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you get from like great mocap work and actual solid character development and story. And I think it would just be a shame to just reboot it and kind of redesign maybe and start from scratch, because the gameplay is phenomenally well received. So like the mechanics, the crafting, the weapons and stuff, the puzzles, that's all like well received. So just kind of, I'm happy to have more of that running in Unreal 5, definitely. And more importantly, as a wrap up to this story, Richie, it's got to come to Stadia, right?
I'd hope so. But we are talking, if they're just starting work on it now, we're looking 2024 at the earliest.
Yeah.
Maybe 2025. So let's see.
That is the shame.
I'd really hope it does, but Square do weird things. This could end up being a PlayStation exclusive or an Xbox exclusive. This could be a Switch exclusive, the way Square do things.
I mean, I hope Unreal 5 doesn't run on Switch. I mean, not do I hope. I don't think it'll run that well on Switch.
I'm just saying, you know how like Square have this weird thing where they just suddenly, because one of the Tomb Raiders was timed exclusive to Xbox.
It ruined the sales for it, which I actually think disrupted the flow of the actual brand and IP as a whole.
Was it Rise?
Rise was a year exclusive on Xbox, which I had to patiently wait to get on PlayStation, which was like, as a fan of the reboot and the franchise, was like, it's a tough long year's wait, but I got the 20th anniversary edition when it came out, and here we are celebrating the 25th anniversary in a new game in the franchise, because remember, we've got the whole reboot trilogy and Temple of Osiris, and the one I can't think of the name all of a sudden. Temple of Osiris and Guardian of Light. Guardian of Light coming as well. So that's 5 titles in the franchise on there, but we didn't get Guardians. So you're right, Square Enix do what Square Enix do, so we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to put all of our dinosaur eggs in another basket, Richie, so to speak, with the next story of the week. Moving things on. Second story. Another big game announced, out of kind of the blue as well. I didn't expect this one. Remedy and Rockstar have announced a Max Payne 1 and 2 remake for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X. So no Stadia announcement, but we know what the world's like when you're a Stadia fan, folks.
Yeah.
You're going to wait for a shadow drop or absolutely no discussional points whatsoever. But to bring it back around, yes, Remedy and Rockstar Games have announced they'll remake Max Payne and Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, terrible naming convention. In a surprise announcement, they will work with Rockstar under a new publishing agreement to remake the first 2 Max Payne games. Remedy will handle development while Rockstar will finance the project, which will be in line with a typical Remedy AAA game production. Think Control and Alan Wake. The Max Payne remakes will also be developed on Remedy's Northlight game engine, which was used to make the recent Control release. Of course, the original games were a result of Max Payne, a partnership between Remedy and Rockstar, with Remedy handling development until Max Payne 3, which is the trailer you guys can see now. Rockstar handled the development of Max Payne 3 internally. So it looks like they're going back to the well, Richie. They've rekindled the friendship between these publishers and studios. Yeah. And I'm excited. I had Max Payne on PlayStation 2, I want to say. And it was one of those games where I lost the memory card save. It got deleted. I played the game. I think I actually got it on maybe my 14th, 15th birthday. Played it all night long. And then went to boot it up the next day. And it didn't exist and it was gone. And I honestly think I just put the game down there, and I've done that much work. I just stopped playing it, and I never went back to it like a fool, I guess, because it's a very well revered series. And the reason we bring it up is because, of course, Rockstar. We've got Red Dead Redemption on the platform, usually publishing under 2K. We've got Control from Remedy, 505 Games publishing. Will we see it?
I think this is less likely. I actually think this is less likely than Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because Rockstar kind of weird. Anyone who's a PC gamer will know, actually, I think it took a long time. I don't even know if it ever came. Like, the first Red Dead Redemption didn't come to PC for a long time, if it ever came. So, and I think we got Red Dead 2 because this was in early days of Stadia where Google are happy to just, here's a bag of cash for your game, which we know they're not keen on doing anymore. So, to be honest, I wouldn't expect this.
What's your history with the Max Payne franchise then?
Absolutely nothing. I have never played one.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, it was one of the first ones to kind of introduce bullet time into games. I think they took big inspiration from the kind of the Matrix and other style movies along the way back in the day. And I remember that was the part that I enjoyed the most, was the slow motion diving off to the left, shooting through walls.
It was in that Matrix era.
Yeah, every game suddenly went with like bullet time as well. So I'm very excited to kind of similar in a weird way to how I was excited about Mafia when that was initially announced, Richie. That I get to replay these games in their best possible form, having not seen them first time round. Which again, that's the biggest thing I love about remakes and remasters is it gives me an opportunity to dive back into games I've never experienced before.
Yeah, same. And in some of the older games now, they're almost unplayable by modern standards.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean there isn't great stories that were told. And I think if you've played the games in the past, you can get accustomed to it. But if you've never played a Max Payne, I'm guessing it plays horribly nowadays because it's an old game.
Oh, it'd be clunky as hell, yeah.
A remake or a remaster gives you the opportunity to re-experience that story.
Yeah, and again, I'd like to hope the relationship's there. It's a bit odd. I'm pretty sure they've announced that this is going to be like a bundled remake, so it's 1 and 2 together.
Yeah.
Obviously, 3 isn't included in it. The whole trilogy. Maybe it's just down to different publishing rights, but then again, it was all done by Rockstar, so you'd think they'd want to include it. It's obviously the newer of the 3 games. It's probably about 8-9-year-old at this point, so it's maybe they're just testing the water with 1 and 2.
It might be because Remedy made 1 and 2 already. A lot of the design docs and initial design docs and stuff they just already have because they made it. So it might be a case of, you know what, we'll do 1 and 2. We've got the design docs there. We can just crack on with Rockstar's permission, which they've got. We can just crack on, remake these games, and then potentially look into make them free later. Yeah, I don't know who made 3, so
it was Rockstar internally.
It's probably slightly more complications around 3, but
yeah. Again, these games similar to Tomb Raider, we're getting these announcements. They're probably quite a ways as of now. Yeah. They've only just announced the deal. I can't imagine much is going. And when you look at Remedy at the moment, they've just announced Alan Wake 2 off the back of the Alan Wake remaster. They've got Control 2, the sequel to Control, in the works as well. They've got a project they're working on with Epic Games. I think they're doing some support on a multiplayer title as well. And now they've got Max Payne. And I think Remedy only have a studio size of about 290 plus employees, so around the 300 mark, which isn't... It's nothing compared to the likes of like Ubisoft and EA have on the books. Rockstar, in fact. It almost makes you wonder, like, is this too much? Like, Remedy seem to be doing way more in the last 2 years than they've ever done before. And it just makes me think that a lot of these projects are going to be so far back based on that, unless they ramp up studio size.
I think if things are staggered, because this will be very early days, Control 2 might be a bit further. So different teams will be working on them. So like on these ones on Max Payne, they're probably like just starting out doing the design docs, trying to get the whole vision and stuff together. Where Control 2 might already be like in production. So there'll be different people's working on different things. So I trust Remedy. They know their business. They know their staff. Like,
that's true.
As long as they don't make the mistake that I think CD Projekt Red did, where they scaled up too quick, which is one of the reasons I think there was problems with Cyberpunk, because to go from like a fairly small studio to a massive one overnight, you got a lot of new people trying to settle in and trying to get things going. But yeah, I don't know. I trust them.
Yeah, I completely trust them. I've got a lot of love for Remedy. I absolutely adored Control, one of my game of the years. I was so happy when it came up with Stadia as well. And they've got a great history with solid storytelling. Like, you've got, obviously, Max Payne. They did Alan Wake with Xbox. We got Quantum Break, which I actually really liked the look of Quantum Break. I just didn't have an Xbox. It was kind of around the same time as I was probably waiting for the Tomb Raider to move over to PlayStation as well. And yeah, I feel like Control was that kind of breakout success for a very low budget in comparison to a lot of AAA games, and it looked gorgeous still. And it's nice to see them finally maybe get their dues a little bit. There are a couple of things. They've obviously had a massive investment from Tencent recently, give them a bit of cash as well. They are working with Epic, as I mentioned. Crossfire was the multiplayer game they're helping with Epic as well. So they clearly have funds coming in. They're doing well, so I'm looking forward to it. One of the things I will bring out, though, which I'm interested to see how these remakes go, Max Payne's, like, even though his face was very blocky and old school looking, it was based on Sam Lake, who was one of the original game's writers. It's his face that they used. And in the throughout the game, I remember that for the story beats, they almost do like a comic book like a comic panel to tell the story. They use actual photographs, if I remember right, of him, the writer, Sam Lake, like the person in real life, Sam Lake. I don't know what they've got to do to kind of, is he still on board? Is his likeness allowed to be used? Do they just go with a brand new actor? I'm interested.
That'll probably depend on the initial contract he signs, probably, because if he's just signed over his likeness to Rockstar to be used for this character, that might, if that's a license in perpetuity, then there's not really much you can do.
Yeah, because I think he did a lot of stuff for Alan Wake as well. So it's...
I think it's one of them. I think I'd imagine like if even assuming he's not involved at all, Rockstar would reach out to him and go, look, we're making a new Max Payne. Are you okay with us continuing to use your likeness for this character?
Yeah. I mean, he's still at Remedy.
Probably not use real world photos anymore, because I think that's a thing of the past in games. But
I mean, Control use real world footage for like of actual actors for the cutscenes, so it seems to be. I think it might just be a cost saving measure some of the times. Like rather than render all this in mocap CGI, just grab a couple of actors, build a set, and we'll just get the footage and then just mold it in. But yeah, it's an interesting way where games and real life kind of cross over. But if you're out there, if you're a game developer, put your own likeness in the game, royalties for life. Yeah. Or payoffs to get rid of your likeness, I guess.
Assuming you agree with that and just go, you can use me. Like, don't sign any contracts.
Use and abuse. Just like our third star of the week, Richie, moving things on. Criterion were used and abused this past autumn to fix the sinking ship that was Battlefield 2042. If you remember, we reported on it back in, I think, October maybe. Criterion, the team most known for making the Need for Speed franchise games, were pulled off to support on Battlefield to make it the best Battlefield it possibly can be. And we all know how that ended up. But the rumour is out there that we will be getting a new entry in the Need for Speed franchise from, of course, EA, probably with some help from Codemasters along the way since they acquired them, coming to next gen only. So that is PS5 Series X is the rumour. Of course, we don't really know where Stadia and cloud gaming sits in this kind of new world of video games right now. The last entry in the series was Need for Speed Heat, which combines some live action in with the traditional gameplay that you're familiar with the Need for Speed franchise. And yes, they've confirmed they were working on it at the back end of 2022 before the delay. However, it's expected to come this financial year, which pushes us up to next 2023. However, Need for Speed generally drops in the late autumn to winter time, so maybe October, November. And reporting from Jeff Grubb from VentureBeat, he's been saying that it's expecting a console release later this year, and he's also heard rumours that it'll be featured stuff around the Miami racing scene. So we're talking the nice sunset orange state of Florida, Richie, where our good friend Chase is from, of course. Another great content creator out there. Shout out to Chase. Been a long time. Need for Speed, Richie. They've took hiatus. We usually get annualized franchises of some shape or form. A staple in the video game racing scene. I have very fond memories of Need for Speed Underground 2 back in the day, Riders of the Storm and all that jazz. You excited for a new Need for Speed game? And what is your history with Need for Speed?
I've enjoyed Need for Speed games in the past, but it's never... I mean, I've never been a huge racing game fan ever. I've always enjoyed them when we've dropped in every now and again. So, my hype levels for this game are pretty much zero. But again, I do expect this to be a great game. It's just not really up my alley. And I actually like the fact that it is PS5, Xbox Series X, and they're not. We are starting to move away from it's this cross generation thing, because I think that sometimes can hold games back a little bit. I mean, the PS4 is absolutely great console. I still use mine nowadays, but I think they're going, you know what, we're not going to develop this for the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, means that they can fully focus on just optimizing it for these newer generation of platforms.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. We're obviously well over a year past the launch of the PS5 and the Series X now, and we are seeing a lot of cross multi-platform, especially with backwards compatibility on Xbox front, and then PlayStation doing it as well. There is a realistic cut-off point when these games stop being made. We joke, but if you remember, Just Dance kept coming out on the Nintendo Wii for many, many years after thousands had abandoned that console completely. And you're
So
totally
Nintendo
right.
abandoned it.
Well, and yeah, it's great to see. I'm a massive fan again. It's been a while since I've picked up a Need for Speed game because I think we've alluded to it with many racing games. When you turn into an adult and you actually can buy a real car in the real world and you're driving to and from places, driving a fictional car loses its luster a little bit. And Need for Speed was all about, like, I remember playing Need for Speed Underground and getting my little Peugeot 306 and souping it up with LED lights and tinted windows, thinking, when I turn 17, I get my own car. I cannot wait to do this. Did I do any of that? No, I installed a CD player with blue lights, and that was about as much as it went, both financially and creatively. It's as much as you can afford. Yeah, it's expensive driving as a teenager.
I've never been interested in like the car modding scene. I'm not a big car guy. Like, the car I drive, it was purely a practical decision that I bought it. It's just not, cars are just not that. I appreciate them, but it's just like, not for me.
Oh no, I went through a whole phase. After my skateboarding phase, it was into cars. Was the next thing I did after that.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I think I blame Fast and the Furious, whatever that franchise has became now. I blame Too Fast, Too Furious specifically. So to put a pin in that, Richie, what's your favorite car of all time? If you had to pick one, I'm curious.
I don't have one.
It can be one of your own personal cars. It can be a throwback to the old Micra if you want to.
Yeah, I was going to go for that. I was going to go for the meme ones. I drove a Nissan Micra. That was my first car. So I'm going to go for my red Nissan Micra. That's the best car ever. Because it did exactly what I needed to do when I was 17, 18 years old. It was a great car. It got me places I needed to go. It was that moment where you get a car for the first time, you get that freedom.
Yeah.
It's like when you're like a teenager, like when we're like 17, 18 years old, like we have cars, we can just go to different places.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Easily.
I have very fond memories. I can actually distinctly remember. So my first one was a Renault Clio in Vertigo Green. I remember it well.
I had about 4 Clios.
I've had a few, yeah. They got me on the brand. And I remember like distinctly driving somewhere for the first time ever, sunglasses on, windows down, and I think it was Velvet Revolver was the music I was listening to.
I remember this occasion having them like, we're doing this occasionally, like we'll be like doing a road trip down somewhere, the Midlands or down south or something, and we do one of them Top Gear moments where you're all like pulling alongside each other as we're convoying. I think our friend Luke had like a red Peugeot, Vauxhall, Corsair, you and your Micra, me and a little Renault. Saxos.
All little,
your small hatches, we all have small hatches.
I
drive a Fiesta, so I'm still in the small hatch game.
The freedom of the road. We love it.
Let us know your favourite car in the comments.
Yeah, let us know your favourite car and what your favourite car is in Need for Speed. I'm quite fond of the Nissan Skyline because of Fast and the Furious, and I do have a soft spot for a nice like deep red Ford Mustang as well. Do Route 66 one day in America. That's one of the dreams. But Need for Speed coming hopefully this November in time for Christmas. It'll put on the brakes hopefully on Google Stadia. Again, we've got EA titles. That Need for Speed was one of the franchises we theorised first on when they announced the 5-game deal. We've got our 5 games now. We still don't know what's coming. Maybe we kickstart things off on the racing line this November with a new entry in the Need for Speed franchise. Come on, EA. Come on, Stadia. Do something. Work together. Rekindle that friendship. Pour nitrous oxide under your asses and get something lit. Because I want to play some AAA games this year. Please. Thankfully, Richie, though, we do have the unrivaled support of Ubisoft helping us bring AAA games, which brings us to our next story of the week, and that is Ubisoft has not only canned any further support for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, but on the flip side, there's a new Ghost Recon already in development, so you don't have to worry about it. They're going to have somewhere to put their quartz NFTs, Richie. If you were fearful that the NFTs were going to die with Breakpoint, you were mistaken.
Excuse me, when I heard the news that they're getting rid of Ghost Recon and Breakpoint, it's like, oh my, but how will I get my NFTs?
How, my precious NFTs. So reading straight from their Twitter post, Ubisoft posted out, "Hey Ghosts, firstly we want to say thank you for all the love and support you've brought to the game. During the past 2 years we released more than 11 updates and supported several unique initiatives from Ghost Experience, the return of AI teammates, Special Ops with Sam Fisher, that's a sore point as well, the Planetary Project and extra content for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The last 4 months marked the release of our final piece of content, Operation Motherland, tons of items, 20th anniversary icons, quartz items for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. We'll continue to maintain our servers for both Wildlands and Recon Breakpoint. We truly hope you will enjoy the game and have fun playing in solo or co-op with your friends. From the entire Ghost Recon team, we want to thank you for your continued support and love you have for the franchise. The feedback you've given has been instrumental in how we will shape the future of the franchise. Until next time, Ghosts. So they're obviously slowly winding down. Wildlands is obviously a few years old now, the better received of the two. This one, Breakpoint with John Berthal, didn't really take off. I don't think it ever landed how it wanted to be, and I think it kind of it was ushered in a time period when Ubisoft have struggled for a bit of identity.
Yeah.
And then they added NFTs to try and save it near the end. But
I don't think they added NFTs to try and save it. I think they've probably looked at it and
yeah,
this is basically dead, so we're messing with NFTs. Let's throw it in
yeah.
here
What's the
because
safest
if we
place?
mess it up, yeah.
It's what, yeah. You can't kill what's already dead may never die, right, Richie? So we know we're getting Ghost Recon Frontline, which is a free-to-play kind of spin-off, something or other based on this, maybe reminiscent of Call of Duty Warzone. We've got The Division Heartlands as well, so I get the feeling that they're taking these franchises and almost trying to pivot them to games as a service, which isn't really a bad thing.
Ubisoft have been open. That's one thing they are trying to do as a company. So,
and you know what? I think that would actually be very fitting of these type of games.
Yeah,
like Ghost Recon can exist as and just add add Breakpoint content, add Wildlands content, make it a living world, like The Division. I think
it's weird because there's multiple tiers. There's like Tom Clancy. Like you got the Tom Clancy games, and you got the Ghost Recon games has become a brand into itself, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That has then split it out in a couple of different directions. I think they probably need to do a bit of housekeeping there to go, okay, maybe get rid of Ghost Recon and just call it Breakpoint this or something. But I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think the new game, they've got sunset in one game, announcing another. So this is one of the things that they're just going to do. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, we've had Extraction. We know we enjoyed Extraction, but I don't think it's going to become anything massive. But I'm just curious where all these studios are off to. Obviously, these are teams of hundreds of people who work on massive games. And we actually revealed on a couple of shows ago the leaks that said that Ubisoft are actually ramping up for a big reveal of titles. They've been very quiet since their kind of massive drop of Watch Dogs, Immortals, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Far Cry all kind of bundled in. They've been surprisingly quiet, so I'm expecting some huge movements later on this summer. Yeah, it might be just a case of, we're starting to get there's a handful of things that have got delayed because of the pandemic and stuff. We're now getting them back on track. It might be, okay, let's just have a mega Ubisoft forward in the summer where we'll go, he's updating pretty much everything we're working on. Mm-hmm. So, Richie, NFTs aside, because I know how much you love them, what do Ubisoft need to do to make this franchise kind of work again? How can we get it back to the hype? I don't really know because never been really big into this franchise, so it's hard for me to say. I think they need to look at what was Breakpoint was the one that was better received than Wildlands? No, Wildlands was the one that was better received. Although they got a bit of criticism for placing it in a Southern American place full of drugs, and I think it was Colombia weren't happy with its representation. Put that criticism aside though. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just look at what the difference are in the games. Look at what was well received in the one that did well compared to the other ones. Go, okay, more of that, less of what didn't work as well. Mm-hmm. The thing for me is NFTs. I think it's going to be an interesting one with Breakpoint because what happens to NFTs when Breakpoint? Well, they did explicitly say that you've got a piece of history as one of their kind of closing sentiments in their post. And no one's buying NFTs for history. That is true, but you actually retain obviously the rights to it. So I don't know how they move over. So whether I read a message from the Ubisoft Quartz website, thanks Breakpoint players who have claimed the initial NFTs, and I quote, "You own a piece of the game and have left your mark in history," it states. So I don't know how that's gonna, because it's all Ubisoft Connect, so it's gonna go across. You still own it. But if these assets are only usable in this game, as soon as this game stops being a thing, then that asset completely loses all value. Well, is that not NFTs? Full stop. Yeah, well, this is the thing. So But if that's the case, then why would you invest in any NFTs in any game? Because as soon as that game is discontinued, because NFT, let's be fair, what they are is they're there for investment reasons. You want to earn a return on your purchase.
Mm-hmm.
You're not buying an NFT because you like the skin on the game. That's a nice bonus, but so it's like
it's an odd one.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm sure we'll.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, we'll find out. Hopefully, at a Ubisoft Forward. I was looking back through some of our content on the channel, and it's
I don't think we'll find out in the Forward. I don't think they'll put NFTs anywhere near.
Oh no, I meant Ghost Recon. Recon. It's been about 9 or so months since we did like a live watch along to the Ubisoft Forward throughout the summer. So we're actually the dam is bursting, ready to go. But regardless of NFTs and the aftermath that comes with them, moving on to the next story. All about World War Z and the aftermath that has followed in the release of that game on Stadia. So, of course, some people were confused with the launch date in the first week of April. They thought it was going to be on Stadia Pro come April the 1st. It finally arrived, Richie, as much as we enjoyed the game during our live stream, to quite some disappointment. People out there trying to play the game on their own. The game has not launched with crossplay, which I'll read you a snippet from the description when the game launched. If I go to claim the game, play the game in the Stadia store, where's the exact word? Turn the tide of the zombie apocalypse on consoles and PC with full crossplay. Join up to 3 friends or play on your own with AI teammates against hordes of random zombies, etc., etc. So the description on the Stadia store states crossplay with PC and console. The initial post from the World War Z Twitter account said, join over 15 million players when it launches with full crossplay support. And now their response after launch was, World War Z on Stadia does not support crossplay at this time. We will let you know if that functionality is added at a later time. Richie, what the hell? I know, like, let's face it, this isn't Stadia's fault. Necessarily, I know a lot of people will immediately go to them. This is on the devs for me. This is like,
well, the thing what I'd like to know from the devs is what's the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got a story later in the show where I think is a good example of the devs communicating decisions that they've had to make.
Mm-hmm.
You've went back on this decision. You might have very, very good reasons for it. It might just be this is a compatibility issue that we need a bit more time to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to honour getting this game out in time for this, in time for it going on Stadia Pro, so we'll add that functionality later. But one of the tweets actually they've put out there is World War Z on Stadia does not support crossplay at this time. We will let you know if that functionality is added later, not when.
Yeah.
So you've changed your mind. Why? Because you've advertised it. You might have very good reasons. I assume you do, but it's one of them. It's like, if you don't tell us the reasons, you're just going to take flack.
Yeah.
You might take flack with your reasons, but at least then we'll have something to go on. It's like, yeah, there's a compatibility issue. We still need a bit more work. We didn't want to delay the launch. It will come. Because World War Z, it's one of them games where they can just keep adding new content, new stories to. It's got legs, this game. It's not like play it and you're done.
Yeah, unlike a zombie who's had his legs severed from under him. Of course, this is just
Deshaun as he slides
around. Deshaun, as he floats. So, go watch the first look. Loads of fun. And this is kind of, I guess, a lot of the sourness and bitterness may come from the double hit that Deliver Us the Moon was also delayed. So that was two arguably the biggest 2 pro games of the month, have both suffered. The difference here, though, the devs from Deliver Us the Moon, Kyoken and Wired Productions, publisher, actively came out and said, look, we found a problem, we're going to work on it, fix it. And they were very clear before launch. This, as I said, as I read out just minutes ago, it's in the description on the storefront, Richie. It says crossplay with PC and console. They've since edited it, I will say. It's no longer there. But again, this goes back to our age-old conversation and our SideQuest topic of quality control. Well, who is checking these final things and going, right, the game launches tomorrow, is it ready to go? And surely someone over at the World War Z team goes, actually, crossplay is not quite ready yet. Should we maybe do something about that? Or just let it post publicly and go back on everything we've promised?
If I was Google Stadia, I'd be quite pissed about this, to be honest, because like, yeah, fine, it's gone pro. Everyone knows it's gone pro. It's not as affected as much. But if someone's actually went out the way to buy this game, really excited for this game, want to jump in with their friends on who play on other platforms, they want to play on Stadia. It's got crossplay. That's how it's marketed. And the last minute pulling of that, they put the money down to find out it doesn't have crossplay anymore. I mean, at the time of purchase, it was in the store that had crossplay. It doesn't have crossplay. What's going on there? I'd be pissed.
It's false. It's false advertising. It's straight up false advertising.
So, which means that if I was Google's like, I don't want my customers getting pissed because the devs have pulled a feature. Like,
yeah,
and again, no explanation. I do think we deserve one. Like,
yeah, it really does. And then it goes back to, again, the kind of the catch-22 problem with Stadia is taking out crossplay now immediately limits the multiplayer player base. Like, we know Stadia, we know Stadia does not have the biggest player base. If you think it does, you're lying to yourself. It's one of the smallest platforms out there in the world. It just cannot compete with the numbers like PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and that's just down to the legacy and the age of the platform. It's no discredit to it, but crossplay helps alleviate that problem tenfold. Like, it genuinely just helps you hook up with it. We've seen it with PUBG and other platforms. It helps it massively. Just looking at a few of the tweets as well. So the particular post you read out, Richie, about being added at a later time, people aren't happy. Endo.
It's the if that's pissing people off.
Yeah, Endo says, but it was announced to support crossplay. I take it you're going to add it at a later date then, right? James Zumwald, that's really scummy advertising feature for the game. It's getting the sales money, not implementing a feature that it promised from the future. Cloudfluencer, I'm pretty much at a loss for words here. Most importantly, you get away with it. Obviously, it has been removed from the description of Stadia, but again, it's all just communication. Like, who's at fault, we'll never know the answer to it, but don't be tweeting out about crossplay as a key feature and then backtracking without an excuse. It's just bad business practice on all fronts. And it's a shame because we had a great time with the game, but we're just fortunate enough to have a close-knit community around us that we can jump on at any time of the day. We'll get people who jump in the chat and go, oh, I'll play, click the link, jump in with the game, and great. Not everyone has that ability. Obviously, you've got the parties feature on Stadia, so you can put out an open request for people to join, but it's just not the same. It just takes a little bit away of the simplistic way of getting into a game, and that sucks.
Yeah, and imagine the Stadia team, the guys over at Stadia will be aware of the issues regarding their player base and multiplayer games, where they just don't really have enough multiplayer players to support the range of games that they need to support.
Yeah.
So if I'm Stadia, I'm pushing crossplay. Any multiplayer game that comes on our platform, if you want this game on our platform, it has to have crossplay. I'm giving that a really hard push.
Yeah.
Because I want my players who are buying this game on my platform to have the best experience they possibly can, and they can't do that without crossplay, unfortunately.
Definitely, and that's the ironic thing is if you look through some more the Twitter threads, is the Stadia team obviously got tagged in a bunch of stuff, and they responded by saying, we 100% embrace crossplay. Check out our friends at WWZ Game to see what their response is. So that's like the most Stadia can do is go,
look guys, nor on us here.
Yeah, like look, we support it. It's the developers who have a chance to implement it. Obviously, there needs to be things that I've discussed behind the scenes because you're promoting it on their platform and you can't promise something and not follow it up. But it's back to Stadia. Don't really have a horse in this race when it comes to getting it implemented. But again, it's just the back. If they knew it wasn't ready, they should have told Stadia. Stadia should have been able to communicate that out ahead of time. Will they acknowledge it in a community blog or something? Probably not. It tends to just be a generic, let's brush it under the carpet and hope no one acknowledges it. But bit of disappointment for a good game that's what probably had the wind taken out of its souls for a lot of players. Out of its sails for a lot of players out there. So, but you know what? If you're not too fussed, you can always check out a 30-day free trial, Richie. That's right. Next story of the week from the community blog, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Not a fantastic community blog. A lot of news we've already covered on the show. We've got some extra extended trials. You can play Humankind with a 120-minute free trial. If you're interested, Humankind, of course, the historical turn-based strategy game that's severely lacking in DLC on Stadia as well, but that's a whole other topic we won't go into now. World War Z Aftermath does have a 1-hour free trial, which thankfully in the community blogger does not mention crossplay. I was just quickly skimming over thinking it says join up to 3 friends, and play with AI teammates, but it doesn't mention crossplay because that would have been another amendment that I've had to make. And then finally, a 60-minute free trial for Super Animal Royale, also there, tying in with the Season 3 launch, and of course up to 64 players can have fun on there. Richie, just quickly, Humankind tweeted out this week about keep tuned to their social feeds for news regarding the Africa DLC content and patch updates to the game, because many other devs, they have not been supporting Stadia in a timely manner in line with other platforms.
Yeah, it sucks as a Stadia player. I do own Humankind and Stadia. I haven't actually played that much of it. I do need to go back, find time to go back and play. But again, at the time I bought it, I did say, like, this is the thing how I play Civilization, where I like it in my library, and then once every probably year or two, I'll play a game for I'll play it for a solid week, and then I'll not touch it again for 6 months. But it is a shame. I get why, because unfortunately Stadia is by far the smallest platform that the game is on. Mm-hmm. But it does suck when things like DLC, new additional content, things like patches are delayed and not coming in time. It's like, you could at least support, even if not the game, you could at least try and keep the game up to date and in line with the other platforms.
Yeah, especially when there's bugs and crashes and other stuff. And I just think, it's a shame that if you've purchased it, again, it's that catch-22. It goes back to, it has a lasting impact on people's purchasing decisions going forward. Because here we are lamenting, we haven't got Blood Dragon from Far Cry 6 yet. We haven't got the Humankind DLC. We don't have crossplay on World War Z Aftermath, and it just goes a long way. If you're not drilled into the Stadia world, when you're thinking of buying a game, if you're struck with one or two of these little niggly things, and you're putting your hard-earned cash somewhere, I know for a hardened fact that all that content is coming to my PlayStation counterpart, my Xbox counterpart, my Switch counterpart, my PC counterpart. It's just Stadia and possibly Luna to some degree. I'm not too sure. Where you just kind of get shafted by the developers, and we know it comes from a prioritization place, but it's something that needs to get sorted out. You owe it to your customers more so than the platform to get it right.
And going back to the Google Dev talks, I think Google are probably aware of this, and they are working on tools to streamline the porting of games over to Stadia, which the easier it is for the developer to get the game over there, or get the patch over there, or get the DLC over there, the more likely you're going to see that these stay up in line. Yeah.
Agreed.
But if there's a lot of work involved, as a developer, you've got only so many resources. You've got to prioritize, and unfortunately, Stadia is in a situation where it's relatively low priority for most developers. Yeah, it sucks as a Stadia player, but
it does. And this goes back to what we've theorized before about Google investing in support teams who can maybe drop in and out and help with this kind of thing. Yeah, it will cost money, but you know what? You're trying to grow your platform, so it's going to cost money. But we'll put a pin in that one for now, and hopefully the DLC will be just on the horizon. Keep it locked to the Humankind Twitter feed, because again, they teased it with some side-eye emojis, so hopefully some news coming soon. Something that should be coming sooner rather than later. Some of you may have seen the Black Myth WuKong tease that went out. I'm trying to think, it was maybe last summer. They did a 15-minute showcase of this gorgeous-looking game from Chinese studio. Over in China, obviously, of course. Smock Jr., credit to him over on Twitter, noticed that on the Black Myth WuKong team's page, is they have just a bit of a Q&A for the upcoming game. If you've not seen any of this, it's basically an action RPG similar to The Witcher. Takes place. What's the story it's trying to retell? It's the monkey.
It's Journey to the West.
Journey to the West.
It's I think it's Chinese fable.
He is a monkey, right? He turns in and
Sun Wukong is a monkey with an extending staff. In fact, the original Dragon Ball is based on it. Right. It's one of them things. It's in more pop culture from Asia than you probably realise. In fact, the formal name of Goku in Japan is actually Son Goku. Right. After Sun Wukong. And in the original Dragon Ball, he does have an extending staff, which is one of the things that's iconic to the series, and he floats around in the cloud and crazy shit like
crazy
that.
Crazy shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like the early seasons of Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z, are pretty much a retelling of it.
Yeah, which is crazy when you look at this game. It's like graphically stunning, and yeah, it's an indie developer, Game Science. So they don't have like a massive track record for video games, but it was received incredibly well. It had like millions and millions of views. People like applauding it for just like the gameplay looks super fun. The transforming between different creatures looks fun. And again, totally out of the blue, no one expected it to look this good. It had no right beat looking this good. And yeah, on the Q&A thing, as found by Smock Jr., is one of the questions that was on there was what platforms WuKong is preparing to launch. And the response was PC and other mainstream consoles. Cloud gaming platforms capable of running the game smoothly are also being considered. So a little snippet of news there, but when you talk about cloud gaming platforms, there's not many of them come to mind as like an actual standalone platform. You've got to be talking Stadia and possibly
Stadia,
Luna. Yeah, there's no real other ones. Again,
probably xCloud's probably in that mix, maybe even PS Plus.
I mean, if
might
it's
be in the mix.
I mean, if it's on obviously
Although
Xbox
unlikely.
and PlayStation, the cloud's just kind of extension of that. It's not a standalone platform. We know GeForce Now is you've got that kind of like supplement to PC if you own it on Steam and stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on this one. If it comes, it's definitely a great get if the game ends up living up to expectation. I know the game director actually came out and apologised for how the game looked after the video released last year, and everyone was quick to say like, "Are you crazy? It looked beautiful." So,
yeah, it's like, I think most people. I think my take was like, I'm skeptical because this game looks a bit too good. I don't like if this game comes out looking like this, I'll genuinely be impressed. Like, so that was kind of my take. I was like, I'm actually expecting you to dial this back a touch to get it running smoothly.
Yeah,
because that does happen a lot in games more than people realize. Like the first here's some amazing footage in engine, and then actually when they get fully populate the world, it's running like shit. Let's dial this back.
Yeah, but you know what? Indie developers can do amazing things. Like I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed Kena Bridge of Spirits, and that was an indie developer as well, just making it big. And I think you can get so many quality assets now. It evidently can be put into practice. So you know what? We'll keep an eye on the clouds for this one. Hopefully, it's a big title or an anticipated title coming soon. Speaking, Richie, of anticipated things, we got another post out from THQ Nordic this week. I know we discussed the Ubisoft Forward news. Save the date because August the 12th this summer. Brace yourselves, THQ Nordic are hosting their second annual digital showcase event. Get ready for new game announcements and updates on previously announced titles. That's all we know, straight from the Twitter feed, showing off, I'm sure, updates to SpongeBob, Destroy All Humans 2, Reprobed Remaster, a bunch of other titles in between, somewhere maybe on the dark side as well, probably something for Saints Row. It's a bit far out for me, quite frankly, August. I'm surprised they're announcing it so early, but you know what? The way E3 folded and Summer Games Fest and Jeff Keighley and IGN Games of Summer and indie showcases and forwards and EA Play, I guess you got to put your stake in the ground somewhere and say, we're going first, August 12th, 2022.
Get it in your calendar.
Get it in your calendar. Of course, THQ Nordic, a branch of the Embracer Group. That probably means they're going to have a Koch Media presentation somewhere in there, Richie, for us to watch along.
Will we watch it? Let's find out.
Probably only if we're drunk.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll think about it closer at the time, but in this moment, I'm keen. We'll give them another go because that was the first one. That hopefully they'll learn from it.
Hopefully they will have learned from it because there's plenty of stuff to keep an eye out for. But yeah, THQ Nordic, I've got a lot of affection for a lot of their titles. I'm still waiting on the Time Splitters remake, reboot, relaunch, whatever the hell that is. They've been teasing it for so long now. Even just give me like a snippet of concept art, I would take that right now. But yes, Embracer Group own plenty of things. They've put the stake in the ground, August the 12th. We're no doubt going to get some more dates. It does seem quite far away, being only April. But as I've said many times, the sun's out, the weather's getting better. August will be here before we know it, Richie. And hopefully alongside a bunch of AAA titles on the platform as well. Linking in with actually that story a little bit, I just want to pivot over to another story we got. Thunderful Games, who are another indie publisher, making big strides. They got Mark Hamill on board to do their hilarious presentation last autumn when he showcased from us telling a storybook about all these new titles. He referenced Stadia. They announced Wavetale, one of my favourite indie games from last year. And our good friend Duncan from Cloudy with a Chance of Games pulled from one of their investor calls a spreadsheet of titles they've kind of got planned between Thunderful, Coatsink, another publisher that we have a fond relationship with as well. And they kind of just broke down all of the upcoming games and whether it's coming to PC, console, mobile, VR, streaming. And there was nothing on the pipeline for Stadia, so...
Yeah, that doesn't mean none of these games will come, though. I think someone pointed out in the comment and replying to Duncan that Wavetale is on Stadia and is on this list, but is not listed as streaming.
Yeah, it's
My
not.
personal take on that is because it's already out, and I would take this as a list of things that are coming rather than things that have gone.
We should point out the entire list of like 15 plus games. None of them are coming to streaming platforms. According to this list.
None. But they've also took the effort to put that column in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they could have just not put the column in there. So, I think we might start seeing some dots getting filled. Yeah. And a lot of these games are like cicada or salted caramel or coffee or chocolate or date or mango or vanilla. They're very much code names. And some of these gone as far as 2024. So, I'm not too worried. It'd be nice to see some of these dots getting filled soon.
Yeah.
To show that that relationship is still there, still solid, but at this point, it's probably just it's not confirmed.
Yeah, and I think with indie developers, a lot of stuff's done on a smaller scale. I think it's easier to we've seen actually you've seen a look at the Stadia library. It's easier to convince indie developers to come across because you're not dealing with millions and millions in money. You're just dealing with maybe smaller paychecks, smaller things to convince, and usually they're working with more generic tools. So when they use things like Unreal and Unity, they're using generalized assets because they're only working on a smaller scale and budget, which I guess helps with the porting process a little bit. And I'm sure when big companies like Google come to you with potential relationships, as a small, probably 1 or 2 person team, any money through the door is probably great, which is no surprise. So that's why we've got amazing deals like Outright and stuff happening, and Coatsink and High Tea Frog and such.
To Google, pick up the phone, give them a ring. I want Lemon to come to the platform.
You want Lemon?
It's a third-person action adventure game.
Titled Codename Lemon. I do appreciate the Jurassic Park game is Jaffa as well. Yeah. Jaffa Park. But yeah, thought I'd bundle that one in there because it's kind of fitting with the THQ Nordic showcase. It's upcoming things that we're discussing and talking about.
Interesting. Chocolate is made by our friends over at Coatsink. Is a sandbox adventure, but it isn't. It's up their own IP.
Oh, good for Coatsink. Based in Sunderland, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Up north.
Guys, if you want to give us the scoop, you know where we are.
We'll come and do a studio tour. We'll interview you in person because we're allowed back out now. But we'll get there, Richie. We'll get there brick by brick. Next story of the week, Lego and Epic Games have got a relationship. I spoke of my love for the Lego games franchises and just the real life Lego bricks, I guess. They've partnered with Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite, on a long-term partnership to shape the future of the metaverse with a focus on building a safe space for young players. The family-friendly digital experience will give kids access to tools that will empower them to become confident creators and deliver amazing play opportunities in a safe and positive space. They announced in a joint statement earlier this week. Details are thin on the ground at the moment, but a major commitment from Lego's digital future and a huge win for Epic Games to be entrusted with a notoriously child-safe brand. And I don't really know where to take this one, Richie. It's weird when companies nowadays talk about the metaverse. It's hard to get a grasp on what the hell they actually mean.
All right, taking the metaverse. This just seems to be one of them things that all tech companies are obsessed with, and no one else gives a shit.
Yeah, I mean the metaverse is kind of.
It just sounds corny as well. It's like
I blame Max.
We're taking over the metaverse. Good. You do that. You do that. I'll exist in this universe and.
Yeah, like so it's not like a game announcement as such, but it's like all these companies that believe like the metaverse is like this cool new thing. Is like, quite frankly, anyone who's grew up with the internet, we've had these. All it is ways of communicating through digital means. Like I've lived through like PlayStation Home. We've had World of Warcraft forums and chatting.
Yeah, it's not new. Like I remember the Facebook announcement thing is like it reminded me a bit of something like Habbo Hotel. What they're talking about is like
been
this
there.
Isn't you guys. Like
been there, done that.
Yeah.
Got my MySpace page.
I don't need to exist constantly in this online space. I like to exist in the real world and use the online stuff to communicate and interact with people. But I don't need an avatar in the chat room.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
just send me a text.
It's weird. Like, is
we're
this?
fine.
Yeah, is this just like a Lego open hub world where I know a lot of games have.
I don't know.
They get stick a lot of the time, like Minecraft and Roblox for like
We're fixated on
over
the-
18 content getting out there. And again, there's totally right, protecting children's rights and safeguarding like the privacy and giving them the right tools to have fun without stuff happening from outside that bubble. It's great, and I think Lego are definitely one of the companies who champion that more than others. So odd relationship.
Clearly part of this announcement. I think the word metaverse is in there for like marketing reasons, and also it's kind of, I think this is probably aimed at parents a little bit. So I'll go, look, we're working together. You're worried about this metaverse thing. We are going to make our portion of it safe for your kids.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
I think that's what I'm taking from this. But stop using the word metaverse. It's just
metaverse.
It's crap.
The Helix Cloud Games metaverse starts with you out there, folks.
Yeah.
Do with it what you wish, because we have no interest in it. Copyright, as long as we get the royalties.
Yeah, well, our metaverse is like our shows and our Discord and our Twitter and social media. So I think, yeah, we all have one.
You know, at one point we might have a platform where we have avatars and I don't know. We'll get there. We'll talk about that later on with a future update. Speaking of future
NFT
updates,
avatars.
No, don't get carried away. Speaking of future updates, we of course are massive fans of transparency and open, honest conversation here. We always do with you, lovely viewers and listeners out there. This final story of the week, pretty much comes from Paratrope, developers of the upcoming fan-funded SkyClimbers, big supporters of Stadia. And they put out a blog post, just a bit of an update regarding Stadia, Steam Deck and Switch support. To kind of condense it down a little bit, they talk about their alpha release, and they've had thousands of participants jump in, test the game, find all those bugs and fixes and glitches that need to be benchmark tested and put into practice. And they've said they're trying to pioneer cloud gaming with companies like Google and Microsoft, and they've got a particular fondness for Stadia. This was one of the first and biggest Team Stadia hashtag community backed pushes to get it into their business model. They want the library to be in the clouds, they state in the blog post. However, to maintain cross-platform support and the Linux content running across Stadia and Steam Deck and such, they've just said ultimately it's going to take more time to cover all of these hardware profiles, dedicate like servers and GPUs and different coding aside. They're going to push the alpha testing to be announced to a later date. And they said they don't want to mislead the community, they just want to basically let us know, but they do have a commitment to their players that even though the shift is primarily focused to the Steam ecosystem, they are offering players who've redeemed or are expecting alpha keys for the Stadia base version to redeem them through Steam if you wish to play. So if you are like a fan funding backer, you can still play the game even though there might not be a Stadia alpha anytime soon.
And this is the actual thing I alluded to earlier. When we're talking about World War Z, I think this is how you do it properly, because I'm just going to read straight from their blog. Ranging from high-end discrete GPUs and dedicated CPUs from AMD, Intel and Nvidia, all the way down to APUs such as those found in the Steam Deck, this will have an effect on our Stadia release timeline, and therefore we have to push the alpha testing duration into a 2BA state as not to mislead our community. So not only are they saying, yeah, okay, the alpha's we can't announce, we don't know when we're going to announce the alpha for Stadia, and they're going, okay, Stadia guys, you can play on Steam, but they're telling us why. They're trying to cover a huge range of hardware, and it's taking, ultimately we need more time than we initially projected.
Yeah, again,
here's what's happening, here's why. Fine. Like it again, there's probably people slightly disappointed who've pre-ordered it, backed it on Kickstarter and Stadia, but at least you know why.
Yeah. Again, it's almost as though transparency, open and honest conversation is good. Like, and it's a weird, in this kind of metaverse world we live in, Richie, all these social media channels try and be like hip young kids, and they try and be funny and they share memes. I mean, we do it on ours, but we're just three idiots with a Twitter account trying to play games and talk about them. These massive corporations who try and like act hip and young and like, oh, we're cool, what games are you playing this weekend? Fridays are just for chilling and playing games, all that kind of stuff. And yet they never just come forward when they make a mistake or something gets pushed back. And it's a breath of fresh air when you get companies, or smaller indie companies in fact, who consist of just a handful of people saying, look guys, you know what, it's a big project, We promised it. We're not shying away from that promise. It genuinely is going to take more time. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many employees who can work on these projects. And back to some of our other stories we've covered in this week's show. Just be honest and come out and say, look, we'll get to it eventually, but it's better than just going radio silent. I joked this week, if you look at my Twitter feed, there was a rumour that Resident Evil Village was apparently reportedly going to include mermaids originally as like one of the creatures. And I retweeted it and said, yeah, reportedly it was also going to launch with RE-verse. And yet here we are a years later, and that's fuck all to be seen. So it swings and roundabout. But the bigger the company, it's almost, understandably, they get a bit detached from the boots on the ground, the reality of it. Yeah, and these guys coming out and just saying, yeah.
That's why you have social media teams. You have people who are meant to bridge that gap. Like your community. That's why you have community managers, community managers. That's so they can bridge the gap between the corporate industry side of it and the general public. Like,
it's crazy.
So I was like, and I think one of the best things is if you have to make a decision that it's going to be unpopular, at least if you explain the reasons, it's still going to be an unpopular decision. But people now have context to why you've had to make that decision.
Yeah, context is always key.
Yeah, just. I mean, you don't have to tell the nitty gritty, but like what Paratrope have done, and went, "Hey guys, it's taking longer. We're covering a wide range of hardware, so we're having to delay this." Stadia guys, you can go over as a bonus. You can go play it on Steam.
Yeah,
we'll sort it out later.
We'll
sorry for that.
Figure it out.
It's good.
Exactly, and just to kind of caveat this story with the kind of similar one that we've got from this one, Everspace, which is obviously another title on Stadia, to kind of fold in with the same one. Robbie Rob over on Twitter was chasing them up because he's a big fan of the Everspace game, and he tweeted out about updates, and I think this is off the back of the Aftermath.
There's a couple of things in his thread that he brings
but to
up.
focus it down. Yeah, Everspace were the only ones who actually replied to him, so no surprise there. He was querying about like updates for the game and optimization and 4K 60 versions which were promised, and Everspace actively responded and said, "We invested extra time in further Stadia optimization and even submitted a 4K 60 version months ago. It's sitting in certification limbo, not matching Stadia's high requirements. We honestly don't know if the version will ever go live or not." And then they're going about sliders not fixing stuff, but it's just kind of back into the same conversation. Yeah. They've obviously responded, so they've given an answer, but there's something missing in the communication. Like, is there someone whose job is to communicate back and forth between the devs and the publishers and the tech people at Stadia to get these messages? Because there's clearly a bottleneck happening where shit's not getting through quick enough.
Someone somewhere has dropped the ball. Something's not working here. Like, the interesting thing is Stadia's high requirements. We've done an entire episode of SideQuest saying how we're on the release of Ark Survival Evolved, how we said Stadia need to be gatekeeping quality a bit more. Mm-hmm. But if Everspace is saying we've got 4K 60 version, it's running. What's these high requirements that they're not meeting from Stadia? That's, I think, the interesting thing. Because I'm guessing they assume that it's good enough. Like, this is fine, it's good, it works, it's 4K 60, it's what you asked for. And Stadia seem to be holding back certification, so...
I'd just like to know who the hell is checking this stuff. Like, you've got there's got to be someone who works at the team at Stadia who's got, like, an outstanding email or notification that says... Everspace, 4 months overdue. Like, has no one checked this profile in 4 months to see why the update hasn't been pushed to the platform?
Yeah.
And who are they contacting to remedy that? Not remedy, pun intended, but they've got enough work going on. But like, come on, guys, like, get your shit together. This is a business.
The devs don't know if this version. I mean, Everspace is on Stadia already. Yeah. It's the 4K 60 version, and it's like they don't know if it's going to happen. If it's going to go live or not. It's like, I'm guessing that's the point of, we've done the work, it's there, it just needs certification, that it's out of our hands.
Mm-hmm. So where's the back and forth? So if you're that studio, do you give two shits about putting your sequel, your Everspace 2 follow-up on the platform if this is the way you're being treated? 3, 2, 1?
Well, it's currently Everspace 2, so I guess the next one will be
Is
Everspace
it?
3.
Actually, I thought this. I feel like Everspace is on Stadia. Everspace 2 is the new Twitter handle that I've been reading for their new upcoming game.
Okay, I'm with you, yeah.
And obviously 3 further down the line. But you've got to imagine it must like annoy you as a developer because you're getting shit on Twitter from obviously fans of your game, and you're like, guys, we've done the work, we've submitted the order, it's just sat in limbo waiting for someone to flick the switch and go, there you go. But some high standards apparently are preventing it.
But the thing for me here is, if I'm the developer of Everspace 2, assume that's the one that's upcoming, it's like, okay, here's the 1080p version. We're not going to bother with the 4K 60 version, because last time we just ended up we don't put all this work in, and literally time is money. We paid people to make this game, this update, and it's just not got out to our customers. So why am I'm not going to put the effort in?
Yeah,
we're not going to spend our time focusing on that.
Yeah,
which is what leads to then other games on the platform becoming a lower quality. So Stadia's high requirement, whatever that means, because I really don't know, because if you want to be high requirements, well, 4K 60 is a pretty damn high requirement already. Like, that's not 4K 60 frames per second is not easy to achieve. So if it's hitting that, I don't know what the issue is. Like, because we saw, again, going back to Ark Survival Evolved, that game was an absolute disaster on launch. It was basically unplayable. The amount of frames dropped, it was lagging, it was jumping all over, the resolution was crap, and literally we could use the console. Our good friend Jem pointed this out to us, to fix the game ourselves. Like, it's weird. I don't know.
Again, and to just dig a little bit deeper, Richie, if you look at the Everspace Twitter account, Everspace 2, coming in 2022, PlayStation, Xbox. So that's a smaller title, probably not coming to the platform, and we kind of probably can see the reasons why. Regardless of sales, if this is how your production and pipeline is going for your last entry, why waste your time? And again, it's just these problems compound themselves because somebody, or a collection of people, or a role is not being fulfilled from Stadia's end, and it needs fixing. It needs fixing, otherwise it's just going to sour the well. And again, there's nothing to stop these Everspace developers talking to more developers at GDC or another public event, and then they go, "Oh, you've got a game out on Stadia. How have you found it? We're thinking of porting game XY over," and they go, "Oh, I wouldn't bother. Don't waste your time." All right, mate, no worries. Let's focus on PlayStation and Switch or something, or Luna, or
sales went high, and now 4K 60 version is just sat in hell.
Yeah,
certification
not
limbo.
Worth your time, which isn't what you want. And it's these little things that hopefully the announcements at Google for Games Developer Summit, all the stuff that happens at GDC, all the work behind the scenes at Stadia.dev. We know they're working hard, but there's still gaps that clearly need addressing, and we just have to sit and report on it, Richie.
Let's hope that stories like this, and this is like Robbie Robb has done this in a very public way. I believe Google Stadia's probably tagged in at some point for the thread,
if not several times.
Hopefully this will go. Someone will go into work on Monday and go, "Dave, Everspace, what's going on there?" Like, I haven't looked in that. That's been sat on my to-do list for like the last few months. Like, can you get to it, please? Sorry for calling Dave out. I don't know if there's a Dave who works there. I just picked a random name.
It's Dave.
Damn you, Dave.
It's Dave from our World War Z thing when he kept #Dave's down. That's how it is. But that brings us to an end.
Sean will save you.
No, he won't. He'll moonwalk past you in a gloating manner and take all the kills. Seriously, go check out the World War Z first look on the channel. We did have an audience question written in, which you just deleted on its move from the doc. Qbal PL17, one of our members over in the Discord chat, of course. If you've got any questions for the show, write in on Discord. We've got a special thread set aside just for this. Now, we were going to read out the question at the end of the show. However, Richie's deemed it that worthy of a question. We're going to actually expand it out into a whole SideQuest episode. So Richie,
I stole it of Chris.
Our Helix heroes out there, the amazing people who support the channel, as little as 99p, you get early access to content, stickers, badges, a bottle of Stadios next to your name, just like Sarge, Simon and Steve have for supporting us for one whole year, and the many, many others you who do. You get this show up to 6 days early. So your question has been expanded into a SideQuest topic. Richie, give the people what they want. What are we talking about on this week's SideQuest show?
So, based on QBAPL17's comment, which I will read in full. In SideQuest, we are talking, does Stadia come under unfair criticism?
If we just give it some unfair criticism in that last story of the week, we'll get into it.
Possibly.
We'll get into it.
Let us know in the comments if you think our criticism was unfair.
Did we give it unfair criticism? It's getting very meta, Richie.
Yeah.
It's like Inception criticism.
Grab your NFTs, we're going to the metaverse.
Let's go. No, of course, we're going somewhere far more important than that. We're going to Tom and Holly's amazing wedding. That's right. At the time this episode goes live, if you're listening to this on the Monday, in your car, you're commuting to work, you're sat in the garden enjoying some sun, you're looking forward to the Easter weekend coming up on the horizon, or maybe you're just chilling out and playing games and listening to our voices. Thank you very much for your support, but we'll be drunk right now at the wedding indeed.
8 o'clock in the morning.
You never know what kind of wedding it's going to be, but I can't wait for it. Again, head over to @AdaxisLP, show him some love, send him some gifts, do all that magic that you wonderful people out there do, and thank you very much for your continued support. For us three gentlemen here, we love talking video game news, specifically Stadia, and we can't wait to keep doing that in the weeks to come. We'll be back this Thursday / maybe Friday for another Stadia live stream right here on the channel, so don't forget to keep it locked and check that one out. You can find me at CyberChris2077. You can find Richie.
Fine. At RichieC89.
Of course, Tom is at AdaxLP. The whole channel is at Helix Cloud Games. You can find us in our Discord, over on Facebook, on Twitter, across most socials. We do have a TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram, but we don't really use them. That's just showing our age, Richie. We're not part of the metaverse quite yet. We'll get the NFTs sorted, but we'll get there eventually. This has been episode 133, getting quite high, of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy yourself, and remember to play whatever makes you the happiest. Mine has been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Goodbye.
Bye.